All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. As you can see, we have a very, very, very special guest in the building, Ian Crossland. Welcome, 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 Ian. How
Thanks
are
for
you
having
doing
me.
today, brother?
Fantastic, man. Looking forward to the show.
Awesome. Well, real quick, if people are not familiar with who you are, why don't you tell them who you are, what you do, and where can they find you?
I'm an actor, a musician, co-host of Timcast IRL every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. And you can really find me on the internet anywhere at Ian Crossland. In the bottom left, you'll see my tag, my gamer tag, my @tag. Hit me up.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'm very, very excited to be here, as is everybody else. We got Indie Film, we got Lars in Room, we got Ron, we got Guam Tech, we got Zippy the Strange, who helped me out with a $50 super chat to get your attention. And of course, my boy Melted Mind Media, another awesome YouTuber. You guys should definitely go check him out. I will drop the link in a minute. So Ian, I am very excited to have you here because we actually got to broach this topic a little bit when I had called into the Timcast member show, but it's obviously a little bit bigger of a conversation that can be had in that forum. You know, I know you just had this a similar type of conversation with James Tor, shifting from the graphene into the God stuff. But you know, I go a little bit the other way. So why don't I just kind of lay out my my idea of what we should be doing as a you know, people on this cultural rock that doesn't seem to know where to go. I believe that, you know, the one of the biggest issues with, you know, right wing or conservative cultural stuff is religion. That it is baked in religion, that it is so closely tied to the dogma of religion. And so for somebody like myself who grew up Catholic, you know, confirmed in the Methodist Church, but then eventually became an atheist, it almost feels like you guys, not you specifically, but you guys, the conservative crowd, are saying, I don't really belong because I don't believe in God. And instead, I would think that it would be better for all of us to really instead of worry about how did we come to the values that we agree on, just worry about the fact that we do indeed agree on the values. We care about community, we care about family, we care about merit and capitalism and things like that. And you know, when I called in, Tim was very quick to kind of shut it down and say, well, you need a mission, and the right has God, and the left has wokeness. But you seemed a little bit more open to it. So just let me throw it to you, and what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is the behavior. Like who are you and what are you and how do you behave? That's my main thing. Because like if there is, I can't definitively say God is real. I don't know. I've been essentially agnostic my entire life, and it seems real when I look at the cosmic microwave background radiation, which is basically a scientific breakthrough with these radio telescopes. They look at this like it looks like a web of radiation left over after the Big Bang, and it's like it resembles like a neural net with like radiation arcing through planetoids and then like through these star systems, and like it looks kind of like energy going through neurons, like the neurons are the stars and things. And I'm really into fractals and like the philosophy of as above so below, and the deeper you look, the more like atoms look like stars. And like, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's real. And when I meditate, I'll communicate and I'll have responses, and it could just be my subconscious, but it could be more, and I'm open to it. And it sometimes it does feel like I'm like using people, using the system when I say God is real or I believe in God, because like I can't prove it. And my whole life I've been like, if I can't prove it with scientific means of some sort, if I can't see it, sense it, then why would I say it's real? But maybe then I could argue these days that maybe I do believe I'm sensing it.
And well, that's really I mean, you hit the nail on the head, is that, you know, using the language, you know, that's something that I focus on a lot, is that, you know, if everybody is talking about God and calling their whatever belief it is God, then how can we scientifically get closer to that God if it is real? If it's not real, then you know, then we don't need to worry about it. And again, we can go back to, okay, these are the values that will lead to you know, a good community, a good society. and all that. And so let's just focus on those. And if there is something out there that's bigger, that I completely agree with you. You know, a lot of people, when they hear atheists, they think, oh, you must think that there's nothing and no, you don't believe in anything. It's like, no, I believe in love. I believe that there must be something bigger than just, you know, our meat sacks walking around. I believe that there's some type of consciousness, but we can't study that when everybody's saying, well, yeah, it's God.
Yeah, skepticism is key. You've got to try and poke holes in your own theory. It's that's why I like be like, okay, it's there. Now everyone else follow me. It's like, nah, that's not good enough, man. I need more proof. I need hard proof. But also, I've been thinking lately that the scientific method isn't the only kind of science. Just because they call it the scientific method doesn't mean like that's what science is. It's just one way to view science, which is like have an idea and then try and break the idea. And if you can't replicate it, then it's not real. That's the scientific method. But
Right.
sometimes it's like things just happen.
Mhm.
Like they call them miracles in the Bible, but like because patterns are so great, if it happens 1 out of every 80 times, it doesn't mean that it's not real. It's
Yeah.
just the scientific method will tell you that it's not calculably scientifically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how do you think that we can maybe shift the paradigm of getting closer to quote unquote God through that, whether it's the scientific method or if it's just acknowledging a bunch of anomalies in energy or whatever it is. Again, we have to talk about it in this way because we don't necessarily understand what we're talking about. We all kind of feel like there's something there, but it seems like there's only, you know, some people are willing to say, I know that it's this. And then there's other people who are willing to say, I don't know what it is. I think it's beautiful. I think it's amazing. I think it's, you know, the most wonderful thing if we could understand it, but we don't. And that's okay.
One thing I like is something called ephaptic coupling. And maybe
Hmm.
we could pull up the definition of that at some point. Maybe put it up in the StreamYard. It's ephaptic coupling is when neurons in the brain communicate not through chemical reactions, which when people think of neurons communicating, it's like one lights up and then sparks the one next to it. That's the normal neural pathway. This is when neurons communicate through magnetic fields, local magnetic fields. So like one neuron in your brain will connect and activate another neuron far away non-chemically. And then hypothetically could one neuron in my brain could activate a neuron in your brain
Mm.
through and like what magnetic field? Is it the Earth's magnetic field? Is it the sun's magnetic field that we're communicating through? Is it the galactic magnetic field? And that maybe there are activations that can cause your neurons to manipulate without like that aren't human. Like there might be other ways to activate, and maybe like what is God even? Is it just a bunch of fields
Exactly.
commingling? And but this stuff is like really, really fascinating that we can communicate across long distances through magnetic fields. That might be a step towards understanding what God is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And no, I hadn't heard of that. And you know, looking at the chart here, it looks, you know, rather complex and definitely like something that, you know, I could sink my teeth into. And it just feels like there's too many people, you know, I'll use the Timcast Discord server just because that's probably the largest sample size that I have for this of people who I share values as to what should we be doing, what should we be, how should we be moving forward, how should we be engaging with you know, with the politics, the discussion, all that stuff. What should we be doing? I find that most people that I agree there, but again, there's no interest in stuff like what you're talking about. And it's all the people who are like, oh, Ian rolling a one again, oh, Ian, you know, derailing the conversation, which really frustrates me because you know, I mean, you know, you clearly are not the, you know, you and Tim are clearly two very different people, but that's an amazing thing. And I think what you bring to the show is so unique in and of itself. That it just, it bothers me so much when people don't get it. It bothers me so much when people don't get it.
It's a Einstein, I think it's Einstein quote. He's like, if you judge a fish's intelligence by its ability to climb a tree, everyone's going to think the fish is an idiot because that's not what it's
Exactly.
built for. And it's kind of like me on a politics show. I enjoy politics. I like thinking about them and talking about them, but I don't study them every day. I'd rather think about science and communication and things like relationships and stuff like that. Those are my real passions.
Yeah.
So, but it's humbling and humiliating to be in a position where I'm not an expert or comfortable, but it's also like an opportunity to kind of bridge a gap between people that are really into like earthly politics and then people that are more into the stuff I'm into, which is like hard
Mhm.
science and that kind of
Right.
like pseudoscience and like just learning new things that you don't quite have the definitions for.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't even expect, that, I obviously everybody knows that you're, into graphene and stuff like that. But the depth that specifically, the James Tour presentation went in, I was like, oh, wow. Like, it's not just that he read about this and knows, like, he knows about this stuff. And so that when seeing you in a different light like that is and as the unwanted foe is saying, I'm a fanboy a little bit, but it bears saying that the people, for anybody out there who's saying, oh, Ian needs to be off the show, like, you don't understand that there is an entire swath of people who are not like us in watching Timcast videos every day and what's happening and in the culture war and wanting to fight about that. And that's a good thing. If everybody was like us, we'd probably all be annoying. We want more people who are out there just living life, getting involved in acting, in acting, in music, in science, and all that kind of stuff. And so I just wanted to say that is one thing that people definitely do not give you enough credit for.
I think that like me being on IRL with Tim is kind of like a microcosm of the culture war, because
Absolutely.
he and I come at the same thing from different angles. And then you'll see, like, are we going to fight and I'm going to be like, fuck you and walk away? Or are we going to overcome our emotions and allow each other to allow ourselves to disagree and still focus on the main topic, which is basically what we've been able to do for 3.5 years or however long we've been doing it.
Yeah. And I think it works well. So I want to dive back into, what you were talking about, how, the scientific method may not be the only way to address to address this, because you said something similar with Dr. James Tour about science being the wrong framing when we're talking about religion. So you brought up the phatic coupling thing. If you could bring it down to, dumb it down a little bit, what would be a different way to approach getting closer to God in a different context than the scientific method as we understand it?
Well, it's they say it's personal. Your relationship with God is personal, only because like the way I experience it might not be the way others do. But what I started doing was meditating. I started in 2006 making YouTube videos because I was like, well, Jesus is pretty cool, and maybe what would he do if he was here right now? He'd probably make internet videos and tell people. So I was like, let's do that. Let's try and like spread the goodness. So I'll do that. And then I started reading this book called The Four Agreements. It's this book of Toltec wisdom by these ancient Aztec, Toltecs. They predated the Aztecs, and they were like the wise men of the culture. And they were like, they boiled things down to these 4 agreements that if you live by, it greatly enhances your life and the life of others around you. It's like, always do your best, only do and say what you mean, don't take anything personally, and don't make assumptions. And so I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's not only tell people about it, but let's start to live like that. So I started doing, like, basically I started being honest, and I had to learn the hard way that honesty doesn't mean you say everything you're thinking. There's a time and a place to say what you're thinking. Sometimes you can say nothing and you're still being honest. It's like discretion. So honesty and discretion are very important. But at the time, I didn't have that. I was just an open fire hose of truth, of honest, of everything I thought. And my justification was, well, it's true, so I have to say it. And I was alienating people, and people were like, dude, shut the fuck. People didn't want to confide in me anymore. But at the same time, I told all the things that come into my mind. Something would come into my mind from my past. I make an internet video about it and humiliate myself and tell people, and then it would no longer bother me. And so I started to gain clarity of thought. Like, I would no longer have these thoughts that would pop into my head because I had already told everybody about them. They were gone. They were out there now. They weren't in here. And then I started to be able to control my thoughts and think long strains of sentences, communicate like, you're doing very well. I would think it and then say it. And then I realized I could think it to myself and it would respond. And then I was like, oh, and then after the years, I was like, maybe that's communicating with like the Schumann resonance of consciousness or the greater galactic scope. And maybe that's what God is. And that's kind of how I started to experience it, was the response that I would get in my own head. It was, for a long time, I just called it my subconscious. But now I'm like, well, maybe there's more than just me involved in this. I mean, obviously these fields that we're within are greater than Ian body.
But let's dig into that. So even if it is just your subconscious, and let's say that you have a subconscious and other people have a subconscious, and then we go back to the aphatic coupling, and that subconsciousness could be connected in some way that we don't completely understand. Where is so obviously I understand your answer to the original question being that just exploring different different individual experiences and learning about those experiences. But to take it a step further, then I still don't see where the dogmatic belief of this is a God has to come from. And I just believe that using the word God it always muddies the water because nobody knows what God is. You know what I mean? It's like how are we better going to define this thing by using words that we already don't know how to define?
Yeah, that I think comes from the ancient texts where they're like, well, we've come as far as we can with our technology. Let's just call it something and just kind of rely on that. But also, I think it was used as a control mechanism. Like literally some guy would roll into town, kill everybody in the village except for like the women, the children, or some of the subservient men, kill them all, burn all their texts, all their history, and then say, I'm God now. Worship me. Everything comes from me. Nothing was before this. And then you teach the kids that they don't know any better. And then they're like, okay. And then they write it down. Before God, there was nothing. Then God gave us light. Like he came in with electricity from ancient Atlantis tech. And then that happened over and over. And then some new warlord would come in, kill that guy and all his followers and be like, I'm God now. And then you have different gods and different texts. And like, it's so easy to just call yourself God if people don't have any reference. And I think that for sure that word has been severely abused over time. There's so much more going on than 3 letters can explain. We've got to figure it out. That's why I'm fascinated with science.
Yeah, and I completely agree, and so that's why I'm looking to reach out. Obviously I'm a small channel here, so I very much appreciate your time. You're blessing the channel here, but I'm trying to. I feel like I have kind of the answers, and I that feels very arrogant to say that I have the answers, but the fact is that I'm trying to bring this idea to people, and nobody's been able to say no. That doesn't sound like you're wrong. Or I had Peter Boghossian on, and he was able to be like, okay, well, that one part is not such a great part, and I was able to tweak that, but. I feel like I have them. Before we move on to that, big shout out to Melted Mind Media with a $2 super chat. Said critical. He rolled a 20.
Yeah. Speaking of, I've got my. Can you see that? Is that it's all 20s. Can you see? It's a little blurry. Someone sent me this die. It's all 20s, baby. All 20s. Media Mind. Sorry to interrupt. Go for it. Oh, there is a 1 which I just rolled. It's
Ian, come on.
That's so funny. I rolled the 1. That's because I interrupted you.
All good. So yeah, I mean, my basic thesis is that there is 2 major things that are harming the political discourse in this country overall, but specifically in this country. One being semantic obfuscation. The people taking words that have a meaning and then changing them and messing with the meaning so that they can kind of use it. Best example is the word Nazi. Like a Nazi used to be somebody part of the Nazi party, and now Nazi is just somebody that disagrees with you. And they do the same thing with racism and dog whistle and all these terms. And then you have now a new generation of people who are not purposely obfuscating language; they're using this twisted language, and so that's a major problem. And then the other one being dogmatic thinking, that whether you believe that, and again, a little bit facetious with it, but whether you believe that there's a man in the sky or you believe that a man can transform into a female, then we are at an impasse because you are holding on to beliefs that cannot be falsified. And if that's the case, and you're holding on, if you're going to die on the hill that there is a man in the sky, if you're going to die on the hill that a man can transform into a female, then we'll never be able to find that middle ground. And so if we can get rid of the dogmatic thinking and we can make the language more concise, then whatever the issue is, we can just talk about it. What do you think?
For sure. It's part of why I love the scientific method for what it does, because whenever I start to think like I know that, I've got to poke a hole in it, because there's And sometimes it can be a little debasing. Like you do have to believe, or it's helpful to believe in something and to say like nothing's going to shake this right now. But also like doesn't mean it's always going to be true. You got to, I think, leave some room for error because you're a fallible human. No one's got it 100%. It's impossible. I mean, as far as I can tell, things always change. We always learn more about what we think we are. Definitions change. Words, the meanings that they used to have no longer make sense because of the new perspectives we have. So that's like always like challenge your own beliefs. I think that's a big part of avoiding falling into dogmaticism. The changing of language is that's a powerful ability, and it's true. That's, I think, a big part of why controlling the media is so important, in that like you find someone that's just and righteous and then give them the ability to kind of maintain a balanced media platform so that people can debate ideas and meanings while referencing the past versions of those ideas and meanings. I don't know if you'll ever be able to stop people from changing the meanings of certain words, just because that seems to be the nature of reality. But also like it shouldn't, if it happens too fast, I think that's a big problem.
Yes.
Like it should be a long, slow understanding of amalgamation or morphism if you're gonna allow words.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, language is definitely going to evolve organically over time. The issue is when they're forcing the change and say, "Oh no, you have to say birthing persons now instead of a woman," and that's where that really throws a wrench in the whole thing. Shout out to Nick here, has a great question for you. Do you think morality can exist without believing in a God? So he's an atheist, though I'm agnostic. Do you believe morality can exist without believing in a God?
For sure. I didn't believe in a God for 28, 29 years, 30, 36, 37 years. I started to sense it in my late 20s. And then I started to consider that it was a God or God in my late 30s. Really only like 3 or 4 years ago did it start to, but like I was always very moral because my parents taught me that, like, be nice to people. If they're mean to you, that's okay. They'll learn later in life what they did was wrong, and be kind to them in response. These kind of things, don't take it, it's not because of you that they were mean. They have a bad childhood or something like that. And fortunately I was able to be taught the morals. But then the argument I usually get from people, specifically Tim, when we're talking about the show, is that my parents and the morals that they taught me are based in Judeo-Christian morals. That's based on the understanding of a paramount and ultimate God, of there's no other God before me. Don't worship false idols. Don't fuck your neighbor's wife. Don't be like the 10 commandments and things like that you could argue comes from God, but I can't verify that. It just, they're good. Seems to be good ways to live so that you don't harm your neighbors and you can live in a prosperous society.
Right. And
ultimately, I would say, the answer is yes, that you can be moral without believing in a God, but that doesn't mean that the morality isn't derived from people that had believed in God.
I completely agree, and I think that's a big point. I would, if at least so far, if nothing else, then I would say that's one of the most important things. That as you go and talking to all these huge names and all these people are listening to you, to understand that there is morality without God, even if it comes from God. Somebody like myself is not looking to make that argument that it's not from God. I simply just don't believe in that God. Great answer. We got a question from, sorry.
It's sort of like if a car is driving down the road towards my house right now, I don't necessarily believe that that's happening because I have no proof or observation of it, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening.
Yeah, fair enough. We got Guantech with the $5 super chat. Said, I like the idea of universal truth and drawing off the stories all cultures have told. This is the closest we can come to God. Yeah, shout out to Jordan B. Peterson. And I think that's pretty much exactly what we are talking about here. I got them both. Don't worry, guys. Every single super chat comes with a treat for my dog Morty over here. We'll get to that. Number one, American Rob, welcome to the party. $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Said, Ian, I would love to talk to you about the towers being the beginning theory. How can we make this happen? Great job, Lunch. Well, thank you.
Let's have the conversation. I don't know. Let's figure it out. Maybe on a Twitter space or something we can talk about this. But what about the towers being the beginning theory? I don't know what towers you're referencing.
Oh, he said change the date to the word towers. So about the date being the beginning theory.
The date being the beginning. The date being the beginning. I don't know what that means, but I do believe in reality that the universe has never begun and will never end, that it's constant. It always is. This is like before I ever believed in God, I allowed myself to believe in infinity and let it just happen. It's kind of like in the gut. It's like an uncomfortable twisting of your gut to conceptualize that it's always been. And then now I think of the universe as a torus kind of flowing around, our universe, which is inside of another torus, So it's never really.
Yeah. And then it gets us back to fractals. And, again, that's such a big part of the misunderstanding of and that's a lot why I've kind of steered away from the word atheist or atheism, unless I'm specifically trying to, specifically trying to have an effect, because I know that there's so much baggage that comes with that. And I just want to express the difference between all that spirituality, all that good fulfillment that you get when you Christians are being in when you're in church, when you're singing, when you're praying, when whatever it is, those feelings are real. Nobody's saying that they're not. Well, I mean, I'm certainly not saying that they're not. What I'm saying is that they don't have to come from a God, and if we can understand what they are, then we can dive into them further. Oh, okay. Sorry. So he was trying to say 9/11. Okay. So Ian, I would love to talk to you about about 9/11 being the beginning.
Oh, I see what he's saying. So I mentioned that I thought World War III, if we could pin it to a point in history in the future, looking back, that I would pin it to 9/11, because that's when the United States went into full war mode. That's when they kind of cracked down. I don't know if you would call it like a military, like a martial law. It's not really martial law, but it's the most martial law I've ever seen in the United States. But I wasn't around during the Civil War. I think it was way more martial law back then.
Not that old, eh?
Yeah, not that old. I'm only 44.
Shout out to Insight of the Ages with the $20 super chat. It said, Gon is a scientist testing for the best of all possible realities. A simulated multiverse where everything that can happen does happen and is happening. We perceive the curation of every best outcome. We can shape that. Yeah, that gets into stuff about, like manifestation and stuff. What do you think about that?
Well, it makes me think of quantum computing, being able to simulate multiple concepts at once, like it's both a 1 and a 0 at the same time, allows you to perceive lots of, if not infinite potentials. You don't have to calculate every universe one at a time. It kind of removes time from the equation of perception with these quantum. So maybe this building of the quantum computer is getting us a leap towards understanding God's mind.
Interesting. And again, that's the stuff that it's like, if we can dive into that, there's so much there. But I feel such a strong resistance from particularly religious people that you get into that, and it sounds like their religion is okay, but whenever you get anything to that sounds superstitious or kooky or woo woo, that's outside of the religion, whoa, that's crazy, that can't possibly be. And it's like, why is there such a carve out for your religion when the creativity of what is possible when we think about these in the context of science, what we do already know, then why do you want to stifle that? I don't get it.
It's challenging for people. I don't want to manifest that it is, because it can be easy too, but I've found that like unlearning something that has been part of the basis of your understanding for 20 years or 30 years can be jarring and can like tear at your mind and your soul, and like your friends and family that all rely on this concept with you together then are going to question you and if you're really who they thought you were, and maybe they don't even want you over this day, because then they have to question themselves. And so unlearning this idea of like the book that you were studied since you were 6 is a bit challenging. But when I talk to people that think of themselves as a religion and they pick their religion and like, this is mine, I talk about God, and it refocuses everyone on it. Like it's more than the book. It never was supposed to be about a book. supposed to be about God. And whatever it is, let's figure it out together. And I'm open to your interpretation through your books and novels and deciphers, but just stay focused on the one concept. And you can view it from many angles. It can be the Tao is like a duality of looking at God. It can be the Trinity of Hinduism, where it's the protector, the destroyer, and the creator all combined in this one essence, but you can look at it from different pieces of one.
Right.
Or you can look at it as one through the monotheistic faiths, or many through these gigantic polytheistic concepts, aspects of the one.
Right. And as you were saying before, that it may not necessarily be that any one of those is the right answer, that there could be a combination or multiple. And the adherence to one particular dogma prevents us from doing that. And that's why, when I talk about what we should follow, as Tim put it, the mission for this new secular conservative movement, that doesn't conflict with religion. It doesn't conflict with belief in God or Taoism or Hinduism or Islam or anything else. It just has the base values, again: community, family, merit, gratitude, capitalism, these kinds of things that we all agree upon as Americans. And whatever else you believe, or if you come to those values by this God or by that book or whatever, then that's great. And I've been trying to push this and say, guys, I think if we do this, then we can keep a lot more people from going down the I was Christian and now I'm a leftist pipeline. I think that that rage that you're talking about, when you find out, I certainly went through it. I was in my 20s when I started figuring out, like, oh, I don't think I believe in this thing that was the hierarchy structure for my entire life. I don't think I believe in it. And that causes a lot of frustration, which is, why you see the militant atheists. Most atheists are not really talking about their atheism and religion that much. It's the ones that are just figuring it out. And so that's why we have the representative heuristic that they're all angry. But that's not the case. That's just not the case. And I think if we can open it up more to hey, we're all Americans, regardless. Definitely shout out to the Timcast Discord. If we can, regardless of how you came to these values, if you believe in these things, then we are going to be the party, the group, the whatever that has the power to move our society. And so I keep putting it to people. Hey, tell me where I'm wrong.
Oh, I think you're right that what I was thinking is community while you were talking, like these ideas and concepts of morality are kind of a communal perspective. Like we come together to all kind of agree, like this is the best. And that's what's the most important thing, whether you think it's godlike or just pure, just an algorithm playing out pressure variance or whatever. If you have a community, that is what keeps you sane and rational. Like I found personally, isolation is very hard. It can become very detrimental. And I got very sad. I had like a revulsion to Christianity in my mid-20s when I started to really think, like, what is this brainwashing? Oh, I was told my whole life, this is what it is, dude. Don't even like, and so I understand that, like, but it was the community and like listening to people. Like I realized I care more about, I'm going to call out Michael Knowles because I love him. I care more about Michael Knowles' well-being than what he believes. And that is like, absolutely. It's the community. It's like being a part, having friends and things like that supersedes like and then I can listen to the beliefs and I can kind of see the metaphor in the way he sees it or that one would see it. But I can still relate because it's important. I want to see your perspective, whether I agree with it or not.
Fair enough. Oh my goodness. Inside of the Ages, blessed the show tonight, out sponsoring himself. So there is Jesus, and there is the Jesus of the censorship board, Nicaea. I'm not familiar, but the Catholics co-opted Jesus into someone to wait for instead of someone to emulate. He was killed. He was killed for pointing out the corrupt. That's a great point. He was killed for, he was co-opted into somebody to wait for instead of somebody to emulate. Great.
That is very insightful. The Nicene board is a group of like priests or bureaucrats that came together to decide what parts of the story of Jesus, the Bible, the New Testament would go into the book and what would come out of it. And so they censored it, and then they made sure it is, from what I can tell, they probably built it in a way that it benefited the bureaucrats of the time. I love that comment. I think emulating be like Jesus, do what he would have been. I mean, that is That is absolutely the way forward.
I completely agree. Yeah, and that's the, again, bringing back the irony is that so many people would, I mean, Jesus was hated in his time, especially near the end. And so shout out again to Zippy the Strange, added you to the sponsorship banner there with 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jesus was hated at the end, and the part of the story that people should understand is that he didn't, it wasn't that he was loved, and still he had the message that people should behave this way, and exactly as Insight says, he's co-opted into somebody to wait for, that we just have to do this and Jesus will come, instead of, hey, this guy did this stuff and he was pretty cool, let's just be like him.
He was questioning Judaism like hardcore. He was kind of reforming it for the modern age. Like, hey, yeah, the book says this from 800 years ago, but we live in a different time with different technology now. So it is actually okay to eat pork because we can clean it now. And he also lived in an empire, literally the Roman Empire, who would stomp out dissent. Like, we're in a position now where we don't. And as far as I know, he didn't have like mass media and a guitar. Like, if he'd been able to charismatically convince 100 million people, he might have been able to pull it off, globally, and like overthrow the empire, come back to like worshiping God through local community and things like that. And I feel like we are on the precipice. If not, it's already happened now, but we need to keep the momentum going.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And keep questioning. That's why I question religion. Just what Jesus did. And I think it's what he would do right now. He'd be like, okay, this is all the data. Let's question it. Let's poke holes in it, and the stuff that makes sense, let's use it. Let's keep it going and make it better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got a tattoo. Oh, on wrong arm. On this arm, it says, "Believe nothing." I know my arms are tiny, but believe nothing except that anything is possible. And that's that is a something that I hold very dear. That you should believe nothing except that anything is possible. Shout out again to Insight of the Ages, another $2 super chat. That the baptism is just Jesus and his cold plunging bros.
Yo, that's awesome. Yes,
I love that. And we got indie film. It's like watching two Jesuses. Jesus I don't know, but thank you very, very much.
That'd be Jesus squared for the record.
For Morty, thank you. Well, I would be remiss if I brought you on the channel and I did not ask about graphene. So I think I can come from this. I know you don't have too much more time, so I think we can come from two different angles. Number one, what is your favorite fact? Fun fact to tell people about graphene. We have a bunch of Timcast viewers here, so I know people are going to have a basic idea, but we also have some people who probably don't even know what graphene is. So please.
Wow, I want to stuff like 9 facts into one.
Please.
Well,
hey, I've got the time.
It's a super capacitor. It just depends on what you combine it with. But if you combine it with, well, first of all, it's black powder. It comes out as black powder. It's kind of like sand. It flows like sand. It's pure carbon, and you can put it into sheets. It's becoming a super capacitor, meaning it can store immense amounts of electrical charge. It's have super conductive qualities when you twist it on top, like put layers on top of itself at like 1.1 degrees. They call it a magic angle. It's called Twistronics. So check that out if you want to know more about its super conductive ability. And so you could build like touchscreen walls, like walls made out of this stuff that's also touch screens that can store that are also your batteries and that are also your wires. You can put it into roads and make them 3 times as strong. And this is just like the beginning of the understanding of this tech in its like most rudimentary form.
And when you say what kind of time frame are we talking? Like the last 20 years, the last 50 years, the last 70 years?
I think they discovered it in like 2001 or 1998 by peeling Scotch tape off of graphite, and they found it, and it was just layered in these hexagonal rings. So it looks like a honeycomb, one atomic layer thick. And they discovered it under a microscope. And like, whoa, look at this benzene structure. Look at the structure of this carbon. This is amazing. And then they started working on it. And for 20 years, they were like, how do we mass produce this? And they just recently, within the last couple of years, figured out through a process called flash Joule heating, where they take carbon of any kind, plastic, whatever. Mm-hmm. They put it in a little tube, and then they run a current through it. get it up to about 7,000, 8,000 degrees Celsius. I think it's like 4,000 degrees Kelvin, and it just and turns it into black powder. And like it'll sublimate like pollutants. So if there's arsenic in it, that'll
that's what.
Turn it into gas.
I remember
Sublimate going from solid to gas is what that means.
Right. I remember you talking to Dr. Tor about using this for pollution and for trash. That you could turn trash into this super conductive, super useful material.
Yeah, check out on my YouTube channel at Ian Crossland the most recent interview with James Tour if you really want to go deeper. And then obviously go to James Tour's YouTube channel and look for his graphene videos because he is like the deep dive.
Yeah, he's also very, very Christian. In case that floats your boat. Shout out to Kelly Green. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm Catholic. Definitely taught to emulate Jesus. And then so the other aspect I was going to say is that obviously as much as you're into graphene, obviously having somebody like Dr. James Tour is very exciting. So what was something new that you learned from him during that interview? Or podcast, where are we going?
Well, actually, I thought that they were using lasers to produce the flash Joule heating process, and he corrected me and explained that they're using electricity. They're running current through the carbon, not lasers. Laser-induced graphene is where you'll take like a blob of liquid graphene or a blob of like powder, and then you etch with a laser. You can etch a design on it and create like a circuit. And make little circuits out of graphene by doing that. That's what you do with lasers. The electricity actually just heats
the whole thing. Awesome. Well, beautiful. So we've got one more question here from M169. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Before we let Ian go, again, guys, it's so amazing that we were able to get Ian here. He is a big dog. If you're not familiar with Timcast IRL, it is one of the biggest shows out there, and he is a big reason for that. So M169 said, I'm sensing a theme with the mid-20s. I went there too. I eventually, speaking of, the atheist phase, I eventually circled back to a position of faith versus religion. And I think that's, an important thing that to bring up, because I think there's, people tend to, if it has to do, like, let's say the microphone is closeness to God, then it tends to be like a little bit of a horseshoe, where you a lot of people kind of start very close and then get very far, but then kind of come back around the other way and end up very close. And I would say that the reason for that is because of all of the muddiness that I'm talking about. Is because there's so much goodness in, our microphone God. There's so much goodness here, but there's so many lies. There's so many antiquated ideas. There's so much confusion about what the microphone actually is that it pushes people away. And then as you get far enough away that you've lost the anger of, oh, they said this was happening and I felt shame and then you can kind of start to come back down the other. Well, you know what? The universe is beautiful. Like the cosmic background radiation looks exactly like a synapse, and that's maybe it's a coincidence, but even if it is a coincidence, that's a beautiful, amazing natural coincidence, and I can find spiritual value in that, even if it's just nature. And so it's a little bit of a horseshoe.
Yeah, letting go of the anger of them telling me to believe it the way they wanted me to believe it was a big part of it. Yeah. And just seeing like it's just the way they see it. And even if they're going to try and make me do it, thank God that we don't live in the time of the Spanish Inquisition where they come break your legs if you didn't believe the way they believed. Yeah. We live in this open and free society where we can debate these things. And like regarding seeing it in your 20s, I think part of it has to do with your brain's development. I've heard that it takes at about age 23 is where your brain really starts to become the adult version of what you're going to be. And they say like, don't do drugs until you're after 23, if you're going to experiment with alcohol and weed and all that. I was 23 when I started smoking pot and drinking alcohol. And I'm glad because after I did that, it was like school became very hard to focus on like studies in that phase of my life where I was taking other chemicals. So I get that. And also there's this thing called the Saturnal return. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of math about how exactly it correlates, but I think from the age of 26 to 29, you're kind of the cycles that you create in your own brain and life and body in those years kind of determine the way the cycles of the rest of your life are going to be. The Saturnal return. It's pretty fascinating. It might have something to do with Saturn. We live in this magnetic universe, according to the Thunderbolts project. I still wonder if you look the hexagonal North Pole of Saturn, like it is pure. That's a magnetic formation. You look at the North Pole of Saturn. If you've never seen it, I mean, it's literally a hexagon, like of gas.
Hexagons are everywhere. Hexagons are everywhere. That I think now that I think about it, that might be one of the first things that really started getting me into the spirituality without the religion, where I was not just bad religion, but I was starting to get more when I started learning about like sacred geometry and realizing that these shapes are ubiquitous throughout the universe, and it just showed me that there could be something else. And as long as there's something else, then the adherence to one particular thing doesn't make sense. And when we can have the behaviors and values and all that good stuff without that adherence, then I still stand saying we don't need the dogma. Let's get rid of the dogma. Let's keep the values.
Also, it becomes fun to talk about the dogmas and ideas if you're able to have the morality without them. I enjoy it so much to hear about other people's views on this stuff. And I don't have to be like, no, I like to just flow over me, man. I'm all putting it all together. I want to hear why.
Yeah, man. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, shout out to Unwanted Foe asking for a persuasion check to see if he can stay any longer. I know you got to go.
All right, I'm going to roll a will save to see if I can to resist your persuasion check. I rolled a 20, although like I said before, the die has 20s all over it.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it. So, any last, again, thank you so much for coming on here and spending the time. I think it's very, obviously very valuable to me personally to have these ideas, thought out in front of somebody who thinks the way you do. Obviously, having a big name on my channel don't hurt either. And just the opportunity to say that I really, really do appreciate, your role on Timcast, Timcast as a whole. So many of us have such respect for what you do, the way that you think, and just for inspiring us to be like, okay, maybe even if we're not, straight-laced this with a tie, maybe we can have, an effect on politics too. And so just in case nobody ever told you, that is exactly how very, very, very many of us feel.
I appreciate it. And your audience is awesome. I should come back. We should do this again in the future. Maybe in the next few months or something, we'll do a touchback and see how the circle has returned.
Sounds like a plan to me. So one more time for if anybody wasn't here, who are you? Where can they find you? And what do you do?
I am Ian Crossland, musician, actor, and co-host of Timcast IRL on YouTube Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also on YouTube, I have just started an interview show. I've done my second episode tomorrow. Monday, I'll be interviewing Bill Ottman, the CEO of Minds.com. We're going to talk about free software and who knows what else. I've got some amazing guests lined up. I'm going to be interviewing Jeremy Riss at some point, the alien scientist talking about metamaterials, Jason Page, the singer of the original Pokemon theme song. Also a very special guy in my life, so that'll be fun. I'm actually going to interview the creator of the Flash Joule Graphene. The list goes on. The creator of the Flash Joule Graphene process. Very, very exciting. So stay in touch with me on Twitter and subscribe to me on YouTube. And that is the best way to keep up to date on what will be coming.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you again one more time. Very, very, very much appreciated. Appreciate the time and very much look forward to whenever we can do this again. Thank you, sir. You have a good one. Hey, we did it, guys. We did it. Oh, what is good? What is good? Ian Crossland on the channel. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much for the blessings, guys. Oh, my God. You guys are amazing. Nick had a good one over there. I was trying to keep up. It was tough, but oh, my goodness. You guys are amazing. Let's run through these. See if there's anything crazy that I missed. Oh man, I can't believe that just happened. Yeah, I saw Kluk not able to get in. I'm glad that you were able to fix that. Let's see. Oh, shout out to Poon Cooter. What is good? What is good? Ron had some good stuff there as well. Of course, number one American Rob. Shout out to Jacob Gorney. Welcome to the party. We figured that one out. Thank you very much. Again, shout out to Dr. Evil Genius over on the Talking Shit podcast, and he has his own channel. Please definitely go check those out. Oh my goodness, guys. Oh my God. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. We did it. Yeah, gotta catch them all. The original artist. That was a great theme song. Definitely go check out Ian Crossland's channel. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, I was so nervous. I was literally like, because this is like when I wake up. So I'm like, I just woke up. I'm like trying to get. So I'm like, all right, let me take a little shot of instant coffee, because I don't want to be like, already more nervous than I am, but I want to, kind of wake up. And I think that was the perfect move. I got my regular shake here. Thank you. Oh, and blessing still, another gifted membership from Zippy the Strange. There you go. Take it. There you go. And again, I appreciate you guys not being too, obviously I don't want to take him off screen for the thing. That's the thing with us, but I appreciate you guys understanding that. CTC did great in that. Definitely need to not read the chat too much for the interview. Yeah, I played it right. Thank you. I very much appreciate you guys enjoying that. Richard said, I'm thinking I'm gay. Hey, whatever floats your boat. Oh my goodness. Number one American Rob. Thank you. So you did a great job. Thank you very, 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 very much appreciate you guys. I was nervous. I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest. I was a little, because of the whole time zone thing with Peter Boghossian. I had the time wrong. Long story short, I had the time wrong when I had Peter Boghossian on the channel. If you, so I was more nervous for that because I was so like flustered, but also I knew that like Ian is a chill dude. So that even if I come in and I'm like, he's gonna be gracious. So that was definitely a little bit. As much as anxiety as I have, it definitely helped. And yes, shout out Captain Gooby. If you were gifted a membership, you now have full access to the Indian Jesus Discord server. There is a free channel for anybody if you want to join. But if you were gifted a membership, you now have access to the whole thing. Send me a DM and I will make sure that you get all the stuffs. We will head over. I'll do a short after party, and we'll go into the voice channel and make sure you get what you are deserved. Morty looks geeked. We're usually still sleeping at this time, man. We're usually still sleeping. Yeah, Zippy throwing blessings all around. Morty, I didn't seem nervous at all. Well, that's the character you gotta play. Well, we're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this right now. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Wondering why. Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. That like when you guys not only show up, we have 30 people in here. We have over 30 people in here, including Twitch and Facebook. Shout out to Twitch and Facebook. But like, not like just being here, that's one thing. But you engaging in the conversation, even when I can't necessarily be in the chat, you guys sending money as if you think that I'm not that almost came out the wrong way. Sending money as if I'm not going to do my best. Either way, you guys know I'm going to do the best, and you still want to support. It means so much to me. It means so much to me. On text said, instant coffee is only drank by the heathens and the Netherlands. Hey, indeed I am a heathen. I can't help it. Definitely good job, Zippy. Shout out to Kelly Green, of course, had that $5 super chat in there. Very, very, very much appreciated. What else we got here? This happened because you believed it. I believed it too. Thank you, sir. Very, very, very much appreciated. Nick also saying the same. Oh, you guys are so awesome. Thank you. Dr. Virginia said, will make you less nervous over time when you remind yourself you're people exchanging ideas. Even though most popular content creators don't have all the answers to life's questions. Yeah, and that's, I still get nervous when I'm coming to sit and hang out with you guys. So, it's not so much about Ian. It's about the fact that I do really care about this. I do care about these ideas. I care about these conversations. I care about you guys. And I really care about this channel. I care about the message that I'm trying to push here. And so I still get nervous. So I've had to be like, okay, I'm not getting out of my bed until 7:25, because then I get down here and I, think in my mind that I got to get all this stuff done. I turn the lights on in 3 seconds and then I'm sitting here and it's like, okay, what do I do now? So it's more about me than anything else, but very much appreciate the kind words. Shout out to Ray Pest. Thank you, Ron. Oh, you guys are so kind. You guys are so kind. Dr. Eno said, I don't try at all unless I'm getting super chats. Hey, whatever works, buddy. I respect it. Hey, shout out to Trey. What is good? So my boy coming up. Congratulations, growing and growing. Yes. Thank you. Well, I only have, the thing is that in my shakes, like this is a protein shake. This is when I don't eat breakfast. I just have these. But I get the chocolate malt because the regular chocolate is way too sweet. So I get the chocolate malt and then I put peanut butter in it. And it's just way too sweet. So what I do is cut it with I used to cut it with coffee. But then I quit caffeine because I was drinking too much caffeine. So then I was making a whole pot of decaf coffee to put in the fridge to pour into my my shake. And I was like, why don't I just get a thing of instant coffee and shake a little bit in, cuts the sweetness, all Gucci. But yeah, that's what I use the instant coffee for the most time. I just have the regular instant coffee for days like this when I'm like, oh, I'm tired, I need to wake up. And we here, let's go. Ray says, much as I'm not a fan of Ian, this was definitely a good glow up for the channel. Hell yeah. Hey, what's good, misanthropic altruist? What's the haps? We just had Ian Crossland in the building. Definitely check out the replay if you missed it. I thought it was a fantastic conversation. Welcome. Luke, I hope you get that Timcast audience bump from this stream. Fingers crossed. That could be huge. Yes, you did miss it. But, you know, we weren't able to be too interactive with the chat, so you won't miss much by checking out the replay. That's why he said he has his girl on cam until he gets the super chat. Yeah, yep. If I had one, then I would do that too. Oh, you too. Oh no, shout out to Dr. Evil Genius and Unwanted Foe, both caught with the Rona this week. Let's send our well wishes. To the both of you. Yeah, it's crazy. How do people drink that shit? Like just the normal, I don't know, whatever. It's like the normal GNC brand, you know, whey protein, just basic stuff. But it's so sweet. Half sucralose, half, yeah, that's the way to go. Definitely get away from the sugar. And I definitely definitely don't go in like if soda is more your thing than coffee, definitely don't go to diet. See, we have people here like Melton My Media who has no idea what stevia is. My guy, you need to stop drinking soda and start drinking stevia. It's a natural sweetener that's less sweet. It's still sweet, but it's not as bad or as addictive as sugar. Exactly. So the soul knows. She knows. All right, guys. So let's head over. I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say all about this. Again, if you were gifted a membership or if you just joined, then you have access to the after party in Discord. Make sure you click the link. I believe the mods have been dropping the link to the Discord. If we can get that one more time, please. Thank you. Again, anybody can join that. That is free. Anybody can join. But if you are a member, you get access to the whole thing. You just got to let me know, and I just got to adjust the stuffs, and you will have full access. Thank you, everybody who's been here. Guys, if you are new here, I've been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus. I am here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. I'm live every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I know that's when Timcast is, but give it a shot. Plus, I go live whenever I can, whenever I feel like it, and I drop clips of these streams every single day. So hit that subscribe button. It really does help. And, you know, if you think I did a good job and I deserve more than 2,000 subscribers, I mean, it's in your hands. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate you being here. And that was awesome. Thank you, guys. Until next time, once again, this is Morty. I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, I am out of here. Peace.